I helped a lost fox woman. What she asked of me changed everything. Frost and ember. The wind howled through the northern hills like a wounded beast, carrying sheets of snow that turned the world white and formless. Darren Ashwood pulled his fur-lined cloak tighter as he trudged through knee-deep drifts, his lantern swinging wildly in the gale. He should have stayed home, any sensible person would have, but he'd seen smoke rising from the eastern ridge earlier, and smoke in a blizzard meant someone was in trouble. The forest grew denser as he climbed, ancient pines bending under the weight of ice. That's when he heard it, a soft whimper, barely audible over the storm. Darren pushed through a curtain of frozen branches and stopped dead. A woman lay crumpled beneath a massive pine, half buried in snow. But she wasn't entirely human. Silver fur covered her arms, and a magnificent fox tail, now matted with ice, curled around her body. Her ears, pointed and delicate, twitched as he approached. Blood stained the snow beneath her leg. "Stay back," she whispered, her voice weak but defiant. Her amber eyes met his, filled with pain and something else, fear. "You shouldn't. Help me." Darren knelt beside her anyway, examining the deep gash across her thigh. "You'll freeze to death out here." "There are laws," she breathed. "Old laws. If you help me, there will be consequences." He met her gaze steadily. "I'll take my chances." Before she could protest further, Darren lifted her carefully, feeling her body tremble against his chest. She was lighter than he expected, her form both human and something otherworldly. As he carried her through the storm toward his cabin, he felt something shift in the air around them, like the moment before lightning strikes, charged and inevitable. His cabin appeared through the white curtain of snow, a humble structure of stone and timber. Inside, warmth greeted them from the hearth where embers still glowed. Darren laid her gently on the bearskin rug before the fireplace, then set about stoking the flames. She watched him with those luminous eyes as he gathered his healing supplies, herbs, clean cloth, his grandmother's salves. "I'm Darren," he said quietly, kneeling beside her again. "Silver." Her voice was stronger now, touched by curiosity. "Of the Wintergrace clan." He began cleaning her wound, his touch gentle but sure. Silver tensed at first, then gradually relaxed as he worked. There was an intimacy to the moment, the quiet cabin, the firelight dancing across her silver fur, the trust slowly forming between strangers. When their eyes met, Darren felt a flutter in his chest he hadn't experienced in years. "Why do you live alone?" Silver asked as he bandaged her leg. "Could ask you the same." He managed a small smile. "I prefer the quiet. Plants don't judge, animals don't lie." "You've been hurt before." It wasn't a question. Darren nodded slowly, surprised by her perceptiveness. "Haven't we all?" Silver's tail wrapped around herself protectively, but her expression softened. "The laws I mentioned, they're real. By saving my life, you've awakened something ancient. The frost fire pact." "What does that mean?" She looked into the flames, their light reflecting in her eyes. "It means our fates are bound now. What happens to one will echo in the other. Our emotions, our pain, our joy, they'll intertwine like roots beneath the earth." Darren should have been frightened. Instead, looking at this mysterious woman who was both wild and vulnerable, he felt only a strange sense of rightness. "Then I suppose we'd better get to know each other," he said softly. For the first time, Silver smiled, and the cabin seemed to grow warmer, despite the storm raging outside, the pact revealed. 3 days passed in gentle rhythm. Silver's wound healed faster than any human injury would, though she still limped when she thought Darren wasn't watching. He found himself watching her often, the graceful way she moved, how firelight caught the silver in her fur, the musical quality of her laugh when he told stories of his mishaps with particularly stubborn mountain goats. She taught him about her world in return. The fox clans had lived in these mountains for centuries, guardians of the forest's balance. They could shift between forms, though Silver explained she was stuck in her hybrid shape until fully healed. Each clan had their gifts. The Wintergrace were keepers of healing magic and memory. "And the pact?" Darren asked one evening as they shared tea by the fire. "Tell me more." Silver set down her cup, her expression growing serious. "It's rare. Last time it formed was 3 generations ago, between a fox warrior and a human scholar. She paused. They loved deeply, but it ended in tragedy when fear drove them apart. What kind of fear? The kind that says different means dangerous. Her amber eyes met his. Can you feel it yet? The connection. Darren realized he could. For the past day, he'd been aware of a presence at the edge of his consciousness, not intrusive, but there. Warmth when Silver was content, a flutter of anxiety when she stood too quickly and her leg pained her. Now, as she spoke of tragedy, he felt her sadness like an echo in his own chest. I feel you, he admitted quietly. Your loneliness. It mirrors mine. Silver's breath caught. She reached across the space between them, her hand hovering near his. Darren, I need you to understand. This pact, it requires complete trust. If either of us holds back, if fear takes root, it will wither. And when it withers. She swallowed hard. It takes part of us with it. He took her hand, feeling the softness of fur against his palm. Then we don't let fear win. The moment stretched between them, charged with possibility. Silver leaned closer, and Darren's heart raced as her breath ghosted across his lips. But before they could close the distance, a horn blared outside, long, low, and threatening. Silver jerked back, her ears flattening. No. They've found me. Darren moved to the window. Through the frosted glass, he saw them, 5 Fox clan members in full warrior garb, their fur marked with dark crimson patterns. Shadowfang clan. The leader, a tall male with scars crossing his muzzle, raised his hand. Silver of Wintergrace. You've broken sanctuary by bringing a human into clan affairs. Come out, or we'll come in. Silver stood, wincing as weight pressed on her injured leg. I have to go with them. If you resist, they'll hurt you. And if I let you go? Darren asked, though he already knew the answer from the fear pulsing through their bond. They'll punish me for forming the pact. The Shadowfangs believe humans are the enemy. Darren looked at this woman, this extraordinary being who had brought wonder back into his lonely life. He thought of his grandmother's words, spoken years ago before she passed. Courage isn't the absence of fear, boy. It's choosing love despite it. He opened the door and stepped outside, placing himself between Silver and the warriors. She's under my protection, Darren said, his voice steady despite his pounding heart. And she's not going anywhere until she chooses to. The scarred leader laughed, a harsh sound. A human playing hero? You've sealed both your fates. But as the warrior advanced, something remarkable happened. Silver stepped beside Darren, standing tall despite her injury. And as they stood together, a shimmer of light, silver and amber intertwined, flickered between them, visible to all. The warriors stopped, their expressions shifting from mockery to uncertainty. The pact, one whispered. It's real. The leader's eyes narrowed. This changes nothing. You'll both answer to the elders. He gestured to his companions. Bind them. As rough hands grabbed Darren's arms, he felt Silver's determination flowing through their bond, mixing with his own resolve. Whatever came next, they would face it together. And somehow, that made everything less frightening. Between two worlds. The journey to the borderlands took 2 days. Darren's hands were bound, but the Shadowfang warriors allowed Silver to walk freely, though they watched her closely. At night, when they made camp, she would sit beside him, her tail curling protectively around his shoulders, sharing her warmth. I'm sorry, she whispered on the second night, when the guards had retreated to their posts. You shouldn't have been dragged into this. I walked into it with open eyes, Darren replied softly. Through their bond, he could feel her guilt, heavy and painful. He wished he could hold her hand. Besides, I'm curious about your world. She laughed quietly, the sound easing some of the tension. You're either very brave or very foolish. Perhaps both. The borderlands appeared at dusk the next day, a valley where ancient stones formed a natural amphitheater, and dozens of Fox clan members gathered. Darren saw the full diversity of the clans, some with auburn fur, others midnight black, a few with coats that seemed to shimmer with starlight. They watched his arrival with expressions ranging from curiosity to outright hostility. At the center stood 3 elders, but Darren's attention fixed on the one in the middle, an elderly fox woman whose silver fur was streaked with white, her eyes a deeper amber than Silver's. Power radiated from her like heat from forged coals. "Grandmother," Silver breathed. Elder Mireille's stern expression softened slightly as she looked at her granddaughter. "Silver, you've caused quite a disturbance." Her gaze shifted to Darren. "And you, human, do you understand what you've done?" "I saved a life," Darren said simply. "If that's a crime in your world, then your world needs changing." Murmurs rippled through the gathered clans. The Shadowfang leader stepped forward. "He's insolent, Elder. He doesn't respect our ways." "Or perhaps he simply values life over tradition," Mireille countered. She descended from the stone platform, approaching Darren with measured steps. "The Frostfire Pact is sacred. It cannot be forced or falsified. If it has truly formed." She placed her hand over his heart, and Darren felt a surge of warmth. "Yes, I feel it. The bond is genuine." Relief flooded through Silver, washing over Darren like a wave. "However," Mireille continued, "genuine does not mean sufficient. Human, you must undergo the trial of true heart. Only by proving your intentions are pure can this pact be honored by the clans." "What does the trial involve?" Darren asked. A sly smile crossed the elder's face. "That depends on what your heart fears most." The trial began at moonrise. Darren stood in the center of the stone circle while the clans formed a ring around him. Silver wanted to be beside him, but Mireille held her back gently. He must face this alone. It's the only way. The elders began chanting in a language Darren didn't recognize. The air grew thick, shimmering like heat waves, and suddenly he wasn't in the valley anymore. He stood in his old village, the one he'd left 5 years ago. The place where his family had turned their backs on him after his brother's death, a death they blamed on Darren's carelessness during a hunting trip. Their faces surrounded him now, full of accusation and disgust. "Killer," his father's voice echoed. "Coward." Darren's chest tightened. This was his deepest wound, the guilt he carried, the fear that he truly was responsible, that he deserved to be alone. But then, through the illusion, he felt Silver. Her presence in his mind, warm and steady. And with it came understanding. This was a test of whether he could accept love despite his past, whether he believed he deserved connection. "I made a mistake," Darren said to the phantom faces. "I've carried that guilt for 5 years. But I'm not defined by my worst moment. I'm defined by what I choose to do next." The illusions wavered. "I choose to love," he continued, his voice growing stronger. "I choose to trust. I choose Silver, and the bond we share, because she sees me, all of me, and chooses me anyway." The visions shattered like glass. Darren found himself back in the valley, gasping. Silver broke free from her grandmother's hold and ran to him, ignoring her still healing leg. She crashed into his arms, and this time no one stopped them. "You passed," she whispered against his neck. "You were so brave." "I had you," he replied, holding her close. When they finally pulled back to look at each other, the bond between them flared visibly, silver and amber light dancing in the air. Silver's hand cupped his face, and Darren leaned into her touch, his heart full to bursting. "Kiss me," Silver breathed. Darren didn't need to be asked twice. He pulled her close and pressed his lips to hers, and the world exploded into warmth and light. The kiss was gentle at first, then deeper, more urgent. Through their bond, he felt her joy, her desire, her love, and knew she felt his in return. The silver and amber light enveloped them, bright enough that the gathered clans had to shield their eyes. When they finally broke apart, breathless and smiling, the valley had fallen completely silent. Elder Mireille was the first to speak. "The pact is sealed and blessed. Let no clan stand against it." Most of the gathered fox people bowed their heads in acceptance. But Darren noticed the Shadowfang warriors remained standing, their leader's expression dark with promise. For now, though, he had Silver in his arms, and that was enough. Shadows of fear. 3 weeks in the borderlands changed Darren's understanding of the world. He learned the clan's customs, their history, their magic. More importantly, he learned Silver, her laughter when he clumsily attempted their greeting rituals, her thoughtfulness as she taught him their star songs, the way she fit perfectly against him when they sat together watching the sunset. The bond between them deepened daily. They could sense each other's emotions clearly now, even share brief thoughts. When Silver worked with the clan healers, Darren felt her satisfaction in helping others. When he practiced archery with the younger clan members, she felt his quiet joy at their progress. But not everyone celebrated their union. Corvain of the Shadowfang had been watching, waiting. He was a formidable fox warrior, his dark red fur marked with battle scars, his reputation built on protecting the clans from human hunters and settlers. To him, Darren represented everything dangerous about humans, the potential for betrayal, for violence, for destroying the delicate balance the clans maintained. The confrontation came during the new moon gathering. Corvain strode into the center of the great circle, his warriors flanking him. Elders, I formally challenge the legitimacy of this pact. A human cannot be trusted with our secrets, our locations, our vulnerabilities. Elder Mireille stood calmly. The trial was completed. The pact is sealed. Then let him prove his devotion one final time, Corvain declared, his eyes fixing on Darren with predatory intensity. Let him face me in combat. If he survives, I will accept the pact. If he falls. He smiled coldly. The pact dies with him, and the Wintergrace will remember why humans are dangerous. Silver immediately stepped between them. No. I won't let you. It's all right, Darren said gently, placing his hand on her shoulder. Through their bond, he sent reassurance, though his own heart raced with fear. I'll face him. Darren, he's a trained warrior. He'll kill you. Maybe. Darren looked at Corvain. But I'm not fighting him. Confusion rippled through the gathered clans. Corvain's expression twisted with contempt. Coward. No, Darren said firmly, stepping into the circle but keeping his hands visible and empty. I'm choosing a different kind of courage. You want me to prove I won't betray the clans? Violence proves nothing. It's what humans and Fox Clan have been doing to each other for generations, meeting fear with force, suspicion with aggression. That cycle has to break somewhere. He turned slowly, addressing not just Corvain but all the gathered clans. I know your history. Humans hunted your kind, drove you into hiding, killed those who trusted too easily. You have every reason to fear me, to see me as a threat. Darren's voice grew softer, more personal. But I know what it's like to be judged for things outside your control. My own people cast me out because of a tragedy they blamed me for. I lived alone for 5 years, convinced I deserved isolation. He looked at Silver, who watched him with tears glistening in her eyes. Until she showed me that love requires vulnerability. That trust is a choice we make despite our wounds, not because we have no scars. He faced Corvain directly. You lost someone to humans, didn't you? That's why you hate us so much. Corvain's eyes flashed dangerously. My sister. She trusted a human trader who promised safe passage through his lands. He led her into a trap, sold her pelt to collectors. She was 17. The raw pain in Corvain's voice struck Darren like a physical blow. I'm sorry. Truly. What happened to her was evil. But I'm not that man. Just as you're not the fox raiders who attacked my village when I was a child, killing my uncle. This revelation startled even Silver. Darren had never shared that memory. We both carry justified anger, Darren continued. We both have reasons to hate. But Silver and I, we're choosing something different. We're choosing to believe that individuals can transcend the sins of their groups. That love can exist across dividing lines. He extended his hand toward Corvain. I won't fight you, but I will ask you to consider whether killing me serves your sister's memory, or just perpetuates the cycle that took her from you. The valley held its breath. Corvain stared at Darren's outstretched hand, his expression warring between rage and something softer, more painful. Finally, one of his warriors, a young female with auburn fur, stepped forward. "Commander," she said quietly, "my brother was the one who proposed the trial. He died 3 years ago in a border skirmish with humans. But—" she looked at Darren and Silver. "If he were here, I think he'd want me to choose hope over vengeance." Another Shadowfang stepped forward. Then another. Not all of them, but enough to surround Corvain, their expressions pleading for him to choose differently. Corvain's shoulders sagged. He didn't take Darren's hand, but he stepped back, his voice rough with emotion. "I don't accept this. But I won't stop it. The blood of future betrayals will be on your heads, elders." He turned and strode from the circle, most of his warriors following. But a few remained, including the young female, who bowed respectfully to Darren before taking a place among the other clans. Silver rushed to Darren, throwing her arms around him. "You could have been killed," she whispered fiercely. "I could have been," he agreed, holding her tight. "But some things are worth the risk." That night, as they lay together under the stars, Silver traced patterns on his chest. "You said a human attacked your village. You never told me." "I was 7. I didn't understand what happened, just that suddenly there was fire and screaming, and then the fox warriors were gone, and my uncle was dead." He caught her hand, bringing it to his lips. "I was angry for years. But anger was just armor around fear. Fear of loss, of vulnerability, of caring too much. And now I'm still afraid," he admitted. "But I'm more afraid of losing you. Of not trying." Silver kissed him deeply, pouring everything she felt through their bond: love, gratitude, desire, hope. When they made love under the starlight, it was tender and fierce all at once, a physical manifestation of the trust they'd built and the future they were claiming together. Afterward, wrapped in each other's arms, Darren felt completely at peace. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Though neither of them noticed the dark figure watching from the tree line, Corvain's expression unreadable in the shadows. A love that bridges. Spring arrived with gentle insistence, melting snow revealing new growth. Darren and Silver made their decision. They would return to his cabin, but transform it into something more, a sanctuary where both humans and Fox clan could meet, trade, learn from each other. "It's ambitious," Elder Mireille said, though her eyes sparkled with approval. "And dangerous. Not everyone will welcome such a place." "All the more reason it needs to exist," Silver replied, her hand firmly clasped in Darren's. They spent weeks preparing. Clan members helped expand the cabin, adding a meeting hall and guest quarters. Darren traveled to nearby human settlements, carefully selecting open-minded individuals to invite. The first gatherings were tense, humans and Fox clans circling each other like wary animals, but gradually, cautiously, connections formed. A human healer learned clan herb lore. A Fox craftsman taught a human blacksmith techniques for tempering steel. Children played together, their laughter cutting through centuries of mistrust. Corvain appeared one evening, 8 weeks after their confrontation. Darren tensed, but Silver's calm flowed through their bond, steadying him. "I'm not here to cause trouble," Corvain said gruffly. He looked older somehow, wearier. "I've been thinking about what you said, about cycles and choices. And," Darren asked carefully, "and maybe my sister would want me to honor her memory by protecting peace, not perpetuating war." He didn't smile, but his hostility had dimmed. "I won't be bringing flowers and songs. But I won't stand in your way either." It was enough. More than enough. As summer approached, Darren proposed formally under the ancient oak near their sanctuary. He'd crafted a necklace of intertwined silver and amber beads, symbolizing their bond. Silver said yes before he finished asking, tears streaming down her face as she kissed him senseless. The wedding took place on the summer solstice. Both human and clan traditions intertwined in the ceremony. Darren wore his father's ceremonial vest, reluctantly gifted when his parents finally visited and saw what he'd built. Silver wore flowers in her hair and traditional clan markings painted on her skin. Elder Mireille officiated, her voice carrying across the gathered crowd of both species. "Love is the bravest magic," Mireille declared. "It asks us to trust when experience teaches caution, to hope when history counsels fear, to build bridges across chasms that seem impossible to cross. When Darren and Silver exchanged vows, their voices steady and sure, the Frostfire Pact blazed between them, no longer just silver and amber, but shot through with gold, visible to everyone present. It wrapped around them like a living thing, warm and protective and utterly beautiful. "I promise to choose you every day," Darren said, his eyes locked on Silver's. "To face fear with you rather than running from it. To build the world we want to see, one day, one choice, one act of courage at a time." "I promise to trust you with all of me," Silver replied, her voice thick with emotion. "To see you clearly in both light and shadow. To stand beside you as we prove that love is stronger than the wounds of the past." They kissed as the crowd erupted in cheers, human and clan voices mingling, celebrating not just a union but a possibility, a future where different didn't mean dangerous. That night, in their private chambers, they made love slowly, savoring each touch, each whispered word. The bond hummed between them, a constant reminder that they were never truly alone, that love had given them something rare and precious, a true partnership of souls. "Do you think it will last?" Silver murmured later, her head on Darren's chest. "The peace we're building." "Not without work," Darren admitted, running his fingers through her silver fur. "There will be setbacks. People like Corvain who need time. Others who'll never accept change. But we keep trying." "We keep trying," he confirmed. "Because the alternative is returning to isolation and fear. And I've lived that life. This one is so much better." Silver lifted her head to look at him, love shining in her amber eyes. "You changed everything, you know. The night you found me in that storm, you could have walked away. Staying changed both our fates." "Best decision I ever made," Darren said, pulling her close. "Well, that and kissing you in front of the entire clan gathering." She laughed, the sound filling him with joy. Outside their window, the sanctuary bustled with life, humans and clan members sharing a meal, telling stories, building friendships that would have been impossible a year ago. Their love had started as a spark in a blizzard, two lonely souls finding each other against all odds. Now it was a flame that warmed others, proof that courage and trust could reshape the world. As they drifted towards sleep, wrapped in each other's arms, the Frostfire Pact pulsed gently between them, a promise, a protection, a love that would endure. Lessons from the Snowbound Covenant. True courage is choosing vulnerability over safety. Darren risked everything, his solitude, his safety, his life, by opening his heart to Silver despite centuries of mistrust between their peoples. Love requires the bravery to be seen completely and to trust despite fear. Our deepest wounds can become bridges to others. Both Darren and Corvain carried trauma from their pasts, but while Corvain's pain built walls, Darren chose to let his create understanding. Shared suffering can divide or connect us. The choice defines who we become. Love is not a feeling but a series of choices. The Frostfire Pact didn't guarantee happiness. It required constant trust, communication, and the daily decision to choose each other. Real love is built in small moments of choosing partnership over protection. Peace is created by individuals brave enough to break cycles. Centuries of conflict between humans and clans didn't end because of laws or treaties, but because two people decided their love mattered more than inherited fear. Change begins when someone refuses to pass pain forward and chooses hope instead. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.